I will probably go to my grave and have not read every single book that I wanted to read. There'll be a story out there that I never got to read. I cannot remember how or why I ended up with this book in my possession. Hello guys, welcome back to my channel, and hello if you're new here. We are sat in front of the bookshelves, which means we are doing some kind of TBR video. So I thought I would sit down. I haven't gone through my entire physical TBR in a very, very long time. I did make an entire physical TBR video probably over a year ago now, and it definitely needs updating because since then I have read a hell of a lot of those books, but I've also bought a hell of a lot of more books. And dare I say, probably more books I've bought than I've actually managed to read. So let's just not talk about that. But I was looking through my physical TBR, and I enjoy watching these kind of videos because going through people's bookshelves means you get to see their whole collection, and also it's not just all of the new books that are coming out, all the new releases and the new authors that have appeared and everything like that. You also manage to get recommendations for books that have been around for a while, may have slipped under the radar, and you think that that might be something you enjoy reading. As much as I love keeping up with everything new and current, sometimes it's good to see what's been lying around for a while and try and get some recommendations from there. So I'm really exposing myself here because I've gone through and picked out some books that have been on my entire physical TBR for at least 2 years. And yes, I know what you're thinking, Poppy, you've had these books for 2 years and you still buy more books. Why don't you just read the books that you've got? I know, but it's really difficult because there's so many new releases to keep up with. Then you find a new author that you've had sitting there for a while, and then you want to read their entire backlist. So you go and buy their entire backlist. And then whilst you're getting through that, another author releases a new book, and then you need to finish this series. And then it literally is just a vicious circle with book buying and being a reader. So that's how these books get sort of left and they go under the radar. But these are books that even though they've been on my TBR for 2 years, I still want to read them because granted, I do have books that since I got them, my reading tastes have changed, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that I'm never going to read them. I have circled back around recently to contemporary romance, and I am absolutely loving it after finishing the Windy City series. So these are books that I still really want to read, but I've had them for a while, and quite a few of them I feel like I don't see spoken about a lot. So it might also inspire you guys to read something that you just haven't really seen floating around recently, because it's overwhelming out there. It's overwhelming. And I'm going to talk to you because I know the premise of like every single book that's on my shelf. Genuinely, I'm not that reckless with my shopping. I don't buy books where I'm like, what the hell is this even about? I do know. I just don't, apparently I don't read fast enough for how many books I buy. Or maybe I should just stop buying like 30 books at a time and just, you know, buy them as they come out. It's not gonna happen though. This, I literally cannot believe I have not read this series yet, and it's so old and it's been around for so long, and I think I am the only person who has not read this series. But Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I have had this for so long, I've wanted to read this for so long, and I just cannot believe I still haven't read this yet. I really wish that when I was really into this kind of fantasy about 6 or 7 years ago, I mean, I don't even know if these books were out then, but I do feel like they've been out for a while, but I really wish that I managed to get around to reading them then, because for some reason I just can't bring myself to always pick up a YA fantasy. But I hear nothing but good things about this series. I honestly, people love this series, and I really want to read it. I've tried so many times, but it's still on my TBR. So I think it's gonna have to be something that maybe I take on a holiday this summer, because I feel like this would be quite a good read. Like, look, you can read this round the pool on holiday. Not dark romance, no, but we can read this round the pool on holiday. So maybe I will try and read this summer. Every single video I'm always like, I tried to read this book, but I do think I really want to try and get around to this because it's an OG and I still haven't read it yet. And if anybody hasn't read Six of Crows yet, I think you're probably in the same boat as me, where you just feel like you are the only person who hasn't read this series yet. Next up, whilst I was browsing my bookshelves, because basically I've got my TBR cart here, 2 shelves here, and then I also have shelves back here, which you can't see. And what I did when I moved back to my mum's is I put all of my contemporary romances and then some fantasy romances back there, because I wasn't reaching for the genre. And I was having a look and I found From Luke Off with Love by Mariana Zapata. Now, I am yet to read a Mariana Zapata book. I think, again, it's a scenario where I'm one of the only people who has not read one of her books. but I just really wasn't in love with contemporary romance for a while. I would say for the last 2 years, I've really had to pick and choose my books, which are just contemporary romance, because every time I do go to it, it just doesn't grip me. And this I think, is a sports romance, because I think it's ice skaters in this. I'm not sure, but I've heard that it is the best slow burn ever, and I think slow burn is slowly creeping its way up to one of my favourite tropes. I never used to really care for it, I just used to enjoy it when I read it, but now if I know it's got it, especially in fantasies, I needed it as of yesterday. And I feel like I haven't read anything by her. A lot of people say this is a good place to start if you've not read anything by this author yet. And I just saw it and I thought, wow, I really need to read that, because it's been around again for a while. I'm into sports romance, you know. The Windy City series really changed a lot of things for me. I finished it at the beginning of the month and it's made me love contemporary romance again, and it's made me fall in love with sports romance. So this is on the TBR. I think I've owned this book for about 2 to 3 years, and yeah, it did not cross my radar at any point until recently, when I was like, I think I could enjoy this now. So, and this is why it's okay to have all these books, because even though you might not be into it now, there will be a time where you come back round and you enjoy it again. It's so funny because sometimes I sit and look at all my books and just think, I genuinely believe I will get to the age of 80. I will go to my grave and have not read every single story out there that I want to read. And that is the most daunting thought in the whole entire world, and the most upsetting. But it's just like, I will probably go to my grave and have not read every single book that I wanted to read. There'll be a story out there that I never got to read, because I just don't know if I'm ever going to catch up with my physical TBR. I just don't know. I think I need to just quit my job and then it would be fine, but unfortunately I need the job to buy the books, so it's a bit of a catch-22 here. On the subject of sports romance, this is Midnight Kisses by Janine Benedict. Now this is a book that I don't actually think I've seen a single review, and I cannot remember how or why I ended up with this book in my possession. It's probably because it was lilac and it's my favourite colour, I don't know, but it is the most stunning cover. This is a sports romance, but I think it's like the coach's daughter or something, I don't know. I think there's a coach in it, and it's to do with a one-night stand. The one review I did see on this, which genuinely was about 3 years ago, just said it was really spicy. So naturally, in true poppy fashion, she ran straight to Amazon and put the book in her cart. But again, since reading the Windy City series, I have been eyeing up the sports romances that are on my shelves, and I've been thinking that this finally needs to be read. I think it was the last time it was in a TBR was probably over a year ago now, and then other than that it's just been sat here looking pretty. So if anyone has read this book, then please let me know in the comments, because I know nothing about this. I really do want to read it now, because again, it was one of those books I wasn't into sports romance, so anything sports romance that was on my shelves was just kind of put on the back burner. Last year was very much a dark romance year for me, and the beginning of this year was as well, but I'm slowly converting and I'm looking at my dark romances at the moment, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna read you, but I just really want to get through some contemporary romances that I've been neglecting, and Midnight Kisses is definitely one of them. I've had that book for so long that at this point, who knows, it could be traditionally published, it could have a completely different colour, because I can't even keep up with the amount of covers that get changed now, like authors that get picked up by publishers and then the covers change. And whilst I love that, I absolutely love that for authors when they get trad pubbed and everything changes and then all their new covers come out. However, as a book collector, that really bothers me, because sometimes I'll be halfway through entire series and then the covers will change and I can't even complete my series, and it's so heartbreaking. Okay, so next up, there are a couple of dark romances here. I think this is just generally because my bookshelves are just saturated with dark romance that I just cannot get through them quicker than I buy them. But I have had these books for 2 years. So the first one is Lessons in Corruption by Gianna Darling. Now this is book 1 in I think called the Fallen Men series, and I'm sure there's about 8 or 9 books out right now. I have this one, and then I have book 2, Welcome to the Dark Side. I have not finished that collection yet because I haven't even read the first 2 books yet, but I do really like Gianna Darling, and I think this is like a teacher-student romance, but it's also Motorcycle Club. So yeah, I don't know why I haven't got around to this yet. I really don't know why. I think it was in a TBR fairly recently and I just ran out of time in the month to get around to it, but I had every intention to. And then another book by Sam Mariano, which is called Descent. Now this is a dark billionaire romance, and I feel like I don't really have many of those. I have dark romances where they're just rich and they run companies or whatever, but in terms of like an actual dark billionaire, I'm assuming like office workplace romance, I don't think I have many of those. I also really love Sam Mariano. I think she's the queen of dark romance, romance, and she is the queen of red flag MMCs. In fact, they scare me. I haven't read this yet, and I have had it for so long. I bought it because I saw it and I hadn't really seen many other people talking about it. I went onto TikTok, I had a little scroll to see what people were saying, not that many reviews. So it was one of those books that I was really excited to go in blind to, and I still will be going in blind to it. But I really, really like the author, and I want to read this before other books that I have on her backlist, because I know that they're just like outright dark romance, secret societies, all that stuff. And this, I just love the whole billionaire vibe. Originally, billionaire romances were my all-time favourite ever to read, and they still are. They typically tend to be contemporary, and I just felt like my reading taste had really shifted over the last couple of years, but this was my way of kind of adding in billionaire but with a dark twist. So again, if anybody's read this, please let me know, because I have no idea what the actual premise of the book is. I just read a mild synopsis of it and I thought that can go in my basket, and then it sat on my bookshelves for 2 years. Okay, so next is the Hades series by Tate James. Now, I don't actually, this is how long I've had these books, I don't actually think you can get these covers anymore. I'm pretty sure they've been traditionally published, so if you're looking for these covers, you most likely won't be able to find them. So glad I managed to get my hands on them, which brings me around to my point of authors. I think when I first discovered Tate James, she was not traditionally published. She was just self-published, like an indie author. And isn't it nice? Isn't it nice that this bookish community and this book world that has really just sort of taken off in the last couple of years has allowed authors to be picked up and be discovered, and it's just it's so great. But anyway, so the Hades series, it is criminal that I haven't got around to this yet, because I read Madison Kate, I actually think it was May 3 years ago. It was either 2 or 3 years ago, but I think it was longer than 2 years. And I loved that series so much, and the only reason I didn't go straight into it is because I think the world is called, or the town or the city is called Shadow Grove. I loved it there so much that I didn't want to rush straight into this. I wanted to save it and then go back to that world. I feel like readers say this, I wanted to save it. Save it for what? Why didn't I just read it then? Because it has now been 2 to 3 years and I still haven't read this series. Set in the same world, it follows some characters that we meet in the Madison Kate series. A lot of people say that they love the Hades series more. I've also got this series here, which is the Guild series by Tate James, and this is also set in the same world, I think, or you meet some of the same characters across these series. That being said, I do really need to read this, and I think on my Bookstagram account, I'm pretty sure I had Seventh Circle, the first book, in a poll, because I saw it and I was like, shall I just start this series? But I'm really bad at reading series in one go now. I used to be so good at it, I would sit down, I would read books 1 to 4, and that is it. And now, since I'm a bit more of a mood reader, it's got to the point where I will read books 1, 2 and 3, and then I always leave the last book. I think to myself, I'll come back to it, let me just have a little break and I'll come back to it, and I don't want to do that with this series. So waiting for the right time. This is kind of on my 2025 TBR to read, because I really love it. It's easy dark romance that isn't too dark, and you can just have a really good time with it. You can have lots of fun with it. It's not got too many triggers, it's not too deep, it's not too heavy, it's just fun dark romance. Because I feel like this year I've read a lot of dark romances that are super dark, and I've had to then take a break from dark romance, whereas these kind of series don't do that to me. So I can't believe I've had this for so long. I look at it every night in bed. I'm not joking. I look at it every night in bed and I think, why have I not read this yet? I can't believe I didn't go straight into it. Okay, next up, honestly, I'm gonna give you guys 2 seconds to guess what book I'm going to show. I think you are bored of seeing me add this into TBRs. It is actually on this TBR for this month, so we shall see. I'm going to really try and hold myself accountable here to actually read this book. But I bought Nocticadia literally when it released, which was 2023. And we are now in 2025. And I don't know why it took me so long to read it. I think at the time I hadn't even read anything by Kerry Lake. I just got sucked into the tropes and the story, like what people think it's about, and a couple of reviews, lots of 5-star reviews. Then I read Master of Salt and Bones in preparation for this, because I hadn't read that many gothic dark romances. Realised that I absolutely love and adore that kind of subgenre of it, and still haven't read this yet. And I read Master of Salt and Bones in like February or March last year. It's been over a year, but I've had this book longer than that. We'll see if we get around to this. If you've watched this video and then you watch my May reading wrap up and I have not read this book, please call me out in the comments. because I really need to get around to it. Next up is Crescent City. So I've read Throne of Glass, I've read ACOTAR, love the books, I love the stories, I love the world. I just find it just such easy romantasy. I adore it. I can't decide what I love more, whether I love Throne of Glass more or ACOTAR more. I think I love them both for different reasons. They are very different types of fantasies. Like Throne of Glass is definitely way more political, less romance, and then ACOTAR is definitely, you know, way more whimsical feeling and romantasy. So I haven't got around to Crescent City yet, and the reason being is because I kept hearing that it was an urban fantasy. And I was thinking, what is an urban fantasy? I didn't really understand what that was at the time. Bearing in mind, I read ACOTAR like 3 years ago. I read Throne of Glass at the end of 2024. No, at the end of 2023 going into 2024. So it's been a while. And I've since discovered what urban fantasy is. I mean, it quite literally is pretty self-explanatory, the name. But anyway, I just didn't know because I wasn't a huge avid fantasy reader, and I kept seeing people who I know read mainly fantasy, rave and love this book, and always say how difficult the world building is, how you have to really work hard with this book, and it's not easy to read, it's not easy to follow, but you know, all pays off in the end. And it was such a big daunting book for me at the time as well. You know, I hadn't really read that many long books, but since owning Crescent City, I'm not scared of 600, 700, 800 page books anymore. They used to really put me off, not anymore. I mean, I tandem read Throne of Glass, so that was like what was that altogether? Like an 1800 page read I did. It took me 2 weeks. It was the best 2 weeks of my life. I put this off for ages because I was not into fantasy the way that I am now. And I've read a couple of urban fantasies since, and I love it. I actually think it might be my favourite subgenre of fantasy. I love it. I love that it's set in a world like more similar to how we know it. So where you have clubs and cars and access to mobile phones and things, as opposed to like being in the woods with wings and stuff. I love both types, but I do really love an urban fantasy. So knowing that this is urban fantasy, I think it's time to read it. Obviously, I've heard very mixed reviews, people saying that they love it, people saying they think it's her best work, people say that they don't think it's her best work at all. House of Flame and Shadow came out, didn't get very good reviews, and I just think it kept getting put off. But after reading City of Gods and Monsters, I have heard a few people saying that if you liked City of Gods and Monsters, it's because you like Crescent City, or you would like Crescent City and vice versa. So that is more than enough for me, because I rated that book 5 stars. I was completely and utterly obsessed with it. So I think it's finally time to start Crescent City. When I have the time to read 3 books this big, I don't know. Is she the best writer in the world, or the most beautiful prose and all this stuff? No, but she is one of those authors that I just generally read for the vibes, for the magic, for the fantasy, for the world, just for the vibes. I don't think too deeply about it. It's the same with Zodiac Academy. I feel the exact same about that series. Is it beautifully written? Is it a literary masterpiece? Absolutely not. But is it absolutely incredible? Yes. Okay, next up is this dark cowboy romance. I honestly really bought this on a whim. There was a while where for maybe like a month or two, this got a lot of traction on Book Talk, and I bought it based off of that. You cannot get it in this cover anymore. It has got a new cover. I do know that much because she has made this into a series, but all I know is it's a dark, spicy cowboy romance, but I've had it for 2 years, and I had every intention, because it's quite short, to literally read it there and then, and I don't know, I got distracted. I don't know what by. I'm trying to think exactly when I purchased this and what I may have been reading around that time. I did get distracted. However, I still want to read this because I think I'm really getting into cowboy romances. I'm seeing a lot of dark cowboy romances get released. So Saffron Kent's released one, Karina Howe's released one called Death Valley. So I think I'm going to read this, dip my toes in, see if I like it, because it's been sitting there for a while, and then buy the other ones. I mean, who am I kidding? I'm going to buy the other ones anyway, because I love both of those authors that are releasing them. But I tried to read the Chestnut Spring series by Elsie Silver, and it was a little bit too cutesy for me. I only read the first 2 books. I haven't continued it yet. However, I do plan to finish it now. I think I did say in a YouTube video a while ago that I'm probably never going to finish that series. But since reading Windy City and really enjoying contemporary romance, and also since reading Bourbon and Lies, which is kind of just the small town kind of vibes, I actually think I want to go back and try and finish the Chestnut Spring series. So yeah, but anyway, gone off a tangent here, but I do really want to read this, and if anyone's read this, because I do not see anyone talk about this, I'd really like to know if it's actually good or if it's just because it's really spicy and it was one of those typical book talk moments where people recommend stuff just for the smut. I don't mind it, but I do need a good story and a good plot with it. This next book is actually a very dark romance or so I've been told, because obviously I haven't read the book yet, which is called Tears of Tess by Pepper Winters. I see Pepper Winters kind of floating around quite a bit. She's written loads of stuff. There's a lot of books on her backlist. This is meant to be quite a dark romance, and it is part of a series. I don't have the rest of the books because actually this was gifted to me by her, but I haven't got round to reading it yet. She sent this to me like 2 years ago, along with a couple of other books, which I do really like her writing, and I do really enjoy the author. I think she's one of those authors that is quite underrated. Like, if the people who know how good she is know, but I don't see her spoken about enough, and I do really think she's a great author. Like, her writing's really good. So if you're into dark romance and you are looking for a new author that writes dark romance, I would look into Pepper Winters. Tears of Tess, I think I put this off because as much as I don't mind dark romance, sometimes I don't like it to be too dark, and there are certain storylines and tropes that I do actually find quite grueling to read, and I have a feeling that this was one of them. I still want to read it, and I've read quite a few storylines recently that I like that, and I feel like I've managed to cope okay. So again, it's one of those books that I just think kind of flies under the radar. Nobody really talks about it, but I have seen some good reviews for it, and I haven't seen any negative ones. I just rarely see people review this book. I'm not 100% sure what the tropes are or anything. Here it is, a new adult dark contemporary romance. Oh, there's a couple of triggers on the back. Okay, well, it seems like it's going to be pretty dark, but I think I might put this back into my TBR jar because I did take it out. Sometimes I take books out of my TBR jar that I know I'm not interested in, but I think I'm going to put this one back in because it sounds intriguing. And then finally, this is a book that actually, funnily enough, I did start, and I got about 3 chapters in, and then I stopped because it wasn't meshing or gelling with me, and I think I just read it at the wrong time. I do think it can be right book, wrong time quite a lot of the time, especially when you've got an abundance of books to choose from, and you know that if you're not feeling something, it's fine, you could just go and pick up something else. But In the Grey by B.B. Reed, this is a dark romance, but I can't remember the actual tropes of it, and I do remember very clearly like what I read. I think it's this girl, she rocks up to this mechanic shop, she wants a job, and there's like 2 or 3 brothers, and they're just not really very nice to her, and that's kind of all I remember. I've heard that there's some really crazy scenes in this that really have you questioning like what the hell you're reading, and I've read quite a lot of books like that recently, and I immediately thought of this book thinking that I hadn't managed to get to those points yet. I love B.B. Reed as an author, one of my favourite authors. Lilac is one of my favourite books of all time. I will never get over that book. It was so good. It's a Why Choose Rockstar romance. I will continue to recommend it forever. It annoys me when I start to read books and then I don't go back to them because I just think, imagine if I'd have just actually managed to finish that book. This is a book that I think around the release, loads of people were talking about it, and then it's just kind of gone under the radar a little bit. But aside from that, I'm gonna try it again, definitely. I am gonna try and read it again. I remember it was around the same time that I read Hawk by Jessie Hall, and that book put me in such a reading slump, and I think maybe just being in a bit of a reading slump meant that I wasn't able to gel with it, and it was one of those scenarios where I just needed to switch genres. Sometimes I need to do that. If a type of genre puts me into a slump, I can't then continue to read it. I have to change it, even if it's only just for one book. And then the last books that I've had that have been on my physical TBR for 2 years. This isn't 2+ years actually, this is around the 2-year mark. It's also by B.B. Reed, and it is the When Rivals Play series. So there's 4 books in this series, and these are new adult dark romances, and I think that they're set like in an academic setting, and they're all interconnected, which my favourite types of series to read. And it's just one of those things where I am in the middle of so many series at the moment that I've been trying not to commit to starting a new series unless I know that I would 100% finish it, because what I don't want to do is read 2 books of this and not finish it. So I'm trying really hard now to go back to completing series that I'm reading so that I don't leave myself in the middle of so many. I am going to try and vlog completing some series and just trying to get through my physical TBR that way. I dread to think how many series I'm actually in the middle of, and then once I finish those, I can start new series like this. This is again a book series that isn't overly popular. I don't see it reviewed a lot, but whenever I've picked up, I think this book has appeared in a couple of videos, and I have had a few people comment saying how good this series is, and I like to find those series that, you know, when you just think nobody's really talking about them, and then you finally get around to read them and you just think, wow, I need to recommend this to everybody because I need more people. It's just so underrated. I think that's what I'm sitting on here with these. A little bit of a hidden gem. So there we go. They are all of the books that are on my physical TBR that, despite the fact that my reading tastes have changed slightly, they are still books that I want to read. I'm thinking about doing a bit of a like physical TBR video series. These are the books that have been on my TBR for like 2+ years. And then maybe I'll go for all the books that I've been too scared to read, books that aren't of my reading taste anymore, anything like that. So if you guys are interested in that, then let me know in the comments, and of course any other physical TBR videos that you want to see, then let me know. Thank you so much for watching my video. Hold me accountable for making sure that I read some of these books, because they cannot end up on my shelves for 3+ years. That is unacceptable. At that point I need to go on a book buying ban. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one.